The ships appeared without warning on a Tuesday morning. 340 vessels materialized in Earth's orbit, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They hung there like dark clouds blocking out sections of the sun, casting shadows across entire continents. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the operations center of Earth Defense Force headquarters, staring at the displays with everyone else. Her coffee had gone cold in her hand. The room was silent except for the quiet beeping of sensors and the shallow breathing of 24 officers who suddenly understood how small humanity really was. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission," Lieutenant Hayes said, his voice cracking slightly. "It's broadcasting on every frequency. Every screen on Earth is showing it." Sarah watched as the main display shifted. A face appeared, or what passed for a face. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, skin that looked like polished blue stone, and a mouth that split vertically instead of horizontally. When it spoke, the translation came through in perfect English. "Humans of Earth," the being said. Its voice was calm, almost bored. "I am Ambassador Vexathera of the Galactic Collective. We represent 847 species across 12,000 worlds. We have come to welcome you to the galactic community." Sarah felt a flutter of hope. Welcome. That sounded good. That sounded like first contact was going to be everything humanity had dreamed about. "Your integration process is simple," Vexthara continued. "You will surrender all military capabilities to collective oversight. You will provide 60% of your planetary resources as tribute to support the greater community. You will accept a collective governor to ensure compliance with galactic law. These are standard terms, accepted by every species in the collective." The hope in Sarah's chest turned to ice. "You have 30 days to signal your acceptance," the ambassador said. "Failure to comply will result in pacification protocols. We have brought a police fleet to ensure a smooth transition. We will await your response." The transmission ended. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Then everyone started talking at once. Sarah pushed through the chaos to General Morrison's office. He was already on the phone with someone, probably the president. His face was gray. "I understand, sir," Morrison said. "Yes, sir. I'll prepare the brief." He hung up and looked at Sarah. "They want options." "What options?" Sarah asked. "Did you see their fleet?" "We have 43 operational warships. They have 340, and those are just the ones they brought to intimidate us." Morrison sat down heavily. "Then what do we do? Surrender?" Sarah thought about that word. Surrender. Giving up 60% of Earth's resources. Having aliens tell humanity what to do, how to live. She thought about her daughter, 8 years old, growing up under alien rule. "There has to be another way," she said. Over the next week, Earth descended into chaos. Some governments called for immediate acceptance of the terms. Others wanted to fight, even though every military analyst agreed it would be a slaughter. Protests filled the streets. Religious leaders declared it the end times. Scientists desperately tried to reverse engineer human FTL technology to find some edge, some advantage. Sarah spent her days in meetings that went nowhere and her nights searching through old military databases. She didn't know what she was looking for exactly. Just something, anything. On the 9th day, she found it. It was a reference in a decommissioned naval archive, marked with security clearances that shouldn't still exist. Project Exodus. The file was mostly redacted, but one line was visible. "In response to the first contact incident of 2157, the following measures are authorized." Sarah stared at the screen. First contact incident. 2157, that was 90 years ago. Humanity hadn't achieved FTL until 5 years ago. Official history said there was no contact before that. She dug deeper using every access code and backdoor she knew. Most of the files were gone, wiped clean, but fragments remained. Pieces of reports, budget allocations that didn't match any public project, and finally, a set of coordinates on Luna's far side. Sarah went to Morrison. "Sir, I need a shuttle to the moon." "For what?" "I can't explain, not yet. But I think there's something there. Something from before." Morrison studied her face. He'd known her for 10 years, trusted her judgment. "You have 24 hours. After that, the president is calling a vote on surrender." The shuttle landed on Luna's dark side 12 hours later. Sarah suited up and took a rover to the coordinates. They led to an unremarkable crater, one of millions. But her scanner picked up an anomaly beneath the surface. Metal. A lot of it. She found the entrance hidden under regolith and rocks. The door was massive, built to last centuries. The security panel beside it was old but still functional. Sarah tried her military access codes. The door opened. Inside was a facility that shouldn't exist. Corridors stretched into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as she entered, activated by her movement. The walls were covered in frost. Everything was cold, preserved, waiting. She found the command center an hour later. The computers were old but built for longevity. When she powered them up, files began loading. Reports, schematics, video logs. Sarah sat down and started watching. Her hands began to shake. In 2157, a human science vessel had encountered an alien ship near Proxima Centauri. The aliens had attacked without warning, without communication. The science vessel was destroyed. Only one escape pod made it back to Earth, carrying 3 survivors who told a story of violence and contempt. Humanity had panicked. They'd covered up the incident, afraid of causing mass hysteria. But secretly, the major governments had come together. They'd formed a coalition with one purpose: make sure humanity was never helpless again. Project Exodus. They'd built ships, huge ships using experimental technology that wouldn't be publicly developed for decades. Dark matter weaving, quantum processors, weapons that existed only in theory. 13 ships. The Black Fleet. And they'd hidden them in the Oort cloud at the edge of the solar system where nobody would ever think to look. Crewed by volunteers who went into cryosleep, waiting for the day they might be needed. Sarah found the communication protocols. With shaking fingers, she entered the activation sequence. "This is Commander Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Force," she said into the microphone. "Authorization code Alpha 79er Delta. If anyone is receiving this, Earth needs you. We need you now." Static filled her helmet for 10 long seconds. Then a voice responded, clear and strong. "Earth Defense Force, this is Fleet Admiral Marcus Hall of the Black Fleet. We've been watching the situation develop. We're ready. Tell us what you need." Sarah closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face. "We need a miracle," she whispered. "Then you'll get one," Hall replied. "We've been preparing for this for 90 years. Stay on this channel. We're coming in." Sarah looked at the schematics on the screen. 13 ships. Ships the Galactic Collective had never seen, didn't know existed. Ships built by a humanity that had learned one lesson from that first violent contact. Never trust that peace is guaranteed, and always, always be prepared. She opened a secure channel to General Morrison. "Sir," she said, "I need you to delay that vote. Tell the President to ask for more time. Tell the Collective we need another week to prepare the surrender ceremony." "Why?" Morrison asked. "What did you find?" Sarah smiled, and it was not a gentle expression. "I found our teeth," she said. "And it's time to show the galaxy that humanity knows how to bite." Sarah spent the next 3 days living in that hidden lunar facility, learning everything she could about the Black Fleet. The more she discovered, the more amazed she became. Humanity's secret project hadn't just built ships. They'd built an entire hidden military force that had been operating in the shadows for 90 years. Admiral Marcus Hall's face appeared on her screen during one of her deep dives into the archives. He was younger than she expected, maybe 50, with gray at his temples and eyes that had seen things most humans couldn't imagine. "Commander Chen," he said, "I think it's time we met properly." "You're in the Oort cloud," Sarah replied. "That's a long way out." "We've been moving closer since the Collective arrived," Hall said. "We're currently 3 days from Earth at combat speed, but I'm sending a fast courier. It'll reach Luna in 18 hours. We need to coordinate." Sarah nodded. "The President bought us more time. The Collective agreed to delay the ceremony by 1 week, but they're getting impatient. They're used to easy conquests," Hall said, and something dark flickered across his face. "We've been monitoring their communications. Do you know how many species have fought back against the Collective's integration?" "How many?" "None. In the last 1,000 years, not a single species has resisted. Some negotiated for better terms, but they all surrendered. The Collective's fleet is designed for intimidation, not real combat. They've forgotten what it means to face an enemy that doesn't fear them." Sarah leaned forward. "Tell me about the Black Fleet. How have you stayed hidden for 90 years? Hall's expression softened slightly. "It hasn't been easy. The original volunteers who went into cryo, they knew they might never wake up. They gave up their lives, their families, everything. My great-grandfather was one of them. He died 30 years ago, never knowing if his sacrifice mattered. What happened to the crews? We woke them in stages, Hall explained. First batch in 2180, when we detected unusual gravitational patterns near Alpha Centauri. False alarm. Second batch in 2205 for maintenance and system upgrades. By then, some of the original crew had children. Those children grew up on the fleet, trained from birth. I was born on the flagship, the Revenant. I've never actually set foot on Earth. Sarah tried to imagine it. Generations living in secret in the darkness between stars, preparing for a threat that might never come. How many people are with you? 18,000 crew across all 13 ships, plus support staff in hidden facilities throughout the Kuiper Belt and Oort Cloud. We have shipyards, manufacturing plants, training centers, everything we need to sustain ourselves independently. The scope of it was staggering, the resources that must have taken. The original project consumed 20% of Earth's GDP for 5 years, Hall said. They funneled money through shell corporations, black budgets, accounting errors. After that, we became self-sufficient. We mine asteroids, harvest comets, manufacture everything we need. Earth hasn't had to support us for decades. Sarah pulled up the ship schematics she'd been studying. These vessels, they're massive. The flagship is 12 kilometers long. 12.3, Hall corrected with a hint of pride. The Revenant is the largest, but all 13 are Dreadnought class. We designed them for one purpose, to fight threats that could destroy humanity. The collective qualifies. Their fleet outnumbers you 25-1. Hall smiled, and it wasn't comforting. Numbers aren't everything, Commander. The collective's ships are powerful by galactic standards, but those standards are based on 1,000 years of easy victories. They're designed to intimidate primitive species into submission. Our ships are designed to kill things that won't die easily. He pulled up a display showing one of the Black Fleet vessels. It was angular, aggressive, covered in what looked like overlapping plates of dark metal. Dark matter weaving, Hall explained. Our hull plating exists partially in normal space and partially in dark matter dimensions. Energy weapons pass through without full effect. Kinetic weapons lose most of their momentum. We tested it against asteroid impacts at 0.7 light speed. The hull didn't even scratch. What about weapons? Quantum disruptors that can tear apart molecular bonds. Singularity torpedoes that create micro-black holes. Relativistic kill vehicles that hit with the force of nuclear weapons. And something we call the null field. It creates a zone where conventional physics stops working. Enemy shields fail. Power systems die. Even their life support shuts down. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. That's terrifying. It's necessary, Hall said quietly. The beings who attacked us in 2157, they looked at humanity like we were insects. Disposable, beneath notice. The people who built the Black Fleet decided that would never happen again. We might die, but we'd make sure anyone who attacked us would remember the cost. The courier ship arrived at Luna exactly 18 hours later. Sarah met Hall in person in the facility's hangar bay. He was tall, lean, with the bearing of someone who'd spent his entire life in military service. They shook hands, and Sarah felt the calluses of someone who worked with their hands despite commanding a fleet. "Let me show you something," Hall said. He led her to an observation deck that had been sealed for decades. When he opened it, Sarah gasped. Through the transparent aluminum window, she could see space, and in that space, barely visible against the stars, were shadows. Huge shadows moving with impossible grace. "We brought 3 ships in close," Hall said. "The Revenant, the Phantom, and the Retribution. The others are positioned throughout the system in case this is a trap. What you're seeing is active camouflage. We bend light around the hulls. To sensors, we're just empty space." Sarah stared at the shadows. They were beautiful in a deadly way, like watching sharks circle in dark water. "When do we move?" she asked. "That depends on you," Hall replied. "On Earth's leadership. We can destroy the collective's fleet. I'm confident of that. But once we do, there's no going back. The collective will know humanity has military power. They might send a real war fleet. Are you ready for that?" Sarah thought about her daughter, about humanity's future, about surrendering or fighting. "If we surrender now, we'll always be subjects," she said. "Always looking up at our masters. If we fight, we might lose eventually, but at least we'll lose free." Hall nodded slowly. "My great-grandfather said something similar before he went into cryo. He said he'd rather die on his feet than live on his knees." He turned to face her fully. "But I need to know Earth's leadership agrees. I need authorization." "I'll get it," Sarah promised. Give me 2 days. She returned to Earth and went straight to the president. It took 6 hours of meetings, arguments, and demonstrations of what the Black Fleet could do. Some officials wanted to surrender anyway, afraid of provoking a larger war. Others wanted to fight immediately. In the end, the president made the decision alone. Sarah was there when she signed the authorization. Commander Chen, President Williams said, "Tell Admiral Hall he has full authority to defend Earth, and tell him we're counting on him." Sarah returned to Luna and sent the encrypted message. Hall's response was immediate. Understood. We'll be ready. The collective wants a surrender ceremony in 5 days. Let them have it. Let them bring their ambassadors and their pride. We'll show them what humanity really is. Sarah watched the shadows move against the stars. Somewhere out there, 10 more massive warships were moving into position, invisible and waiting. The collective thought they were coming to accept Earth's surrender. Instead, they were about to learn that some species don't kneel. Some species bite back, and humanity, with all its flaws and fears, was one of them. The Galactic Collective's patience ran out on the 20th day. Sarah was in a security briefing when the alert started screaming. Every sensor on Earth and Luna lit up simultaneously. Something was happening near Mars. "Get me a visual," General Morrison barked. The main screen shifted to show Mars orbit. The small colony there, barely 5,000 people working on terraforming projects, had been growing for 30 years. It represented humanity's first real step toward becoming a multi-planet species. 20 collective warships surrounded it. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant Hayes said. His face pale, Ambassador Vexithara appeared on screen. The bored tone was gone. Now there was something cold in those 4 eyes. Something that reminded Sarah that this being represented a civilization that had conquered nearly 1,000 worlds. "Humans of Earth," Vexithara said, "your requests for delays have become tiresome. The collective's generosity has limits. We will now provide a demonstration of what pacification protocols entail." "No," Sarah whispered. "No, no, no. You have 72 hours to signal unconditional surrender," the ambassador continued. "After that, we begin with Earth's moon colonies. Then Earth itself. The transmission cut. For exactly 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then Mars colony sent a desperate broadcast. 'Earth, they're powering weapons. They're actually going to—'" The transmission ended in static. Sarah watched in horror as the collective ships fired. Beams of purple energy lanced down from orbit. The colony domes shattered like glass. The terraforming stations exploded. In less than a minute, 30 years of work and 12,000 lives were simply erased. The operations center was silent except for someone being sick in a corner. Morrison's hands were shaking as he reached for the phone. "Get me the president." Sarah left the room. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. 12,000 people gone, just like that. A demonstration. That's what Vexithara had called it. A demonstration? She made it to an empty conference room before the rage hit her. She wanted to scream. To break something, to make the collective hurt the way they just hurt humanity. But rage wouldn't help. Only action would. She activated her secure link to Admiral Hall. "Did you see it?" "We saw it." Hall's voice was ice. 3 of our ships had Mars in direct line of sight. We watched the whole thing. They gave us 72 hours, then we use every second. We planned for the surrender ceremony to be in 5 days. We move it up tomorrow. Tell them Earth's government is ready to surrender immediately. We want to avoid further loss of life. Sarah understood. You need them close. We need them arrogant and confident. Let them think they broke you. Let them gather in Earth orbit for their victory celebration. Hall paused. "I'm sorry about Mars, Sarah. Those people deserved better." "We'll make it mean something," Sarah said. "We'll make sure they didn't die for nothing." The next 18 hours were a carefully choreographed performance. President Williams appeared on every broadcast looking defeated and exhausted. She announced that Earth would accept the collective's terms immediately. No more delays. No more negotiations. The collective's response was predictably smug. Ambassador Vexithara sent instructions for the ceremony. Earth's leaders would board the collective flagship, the Dominion's Will, at noon the next day. They would sign documents of surrender in front of representatives from all 847 species. It would be broadcast across the galaxy as another successful integration. Sarah spent that night coordinating with Hall. The Black Fleet was in position, invisible ships scattered throughout Earth's orbital space. They'd been there for 2 days, close enough to watch the collective fleet, silent and waiting. The trick, Hall explained, is simultaneous declaration. We decloak all at once, surround them before they can react. The psychological impact will be almost as important as the military advantage. What if they start shooting at Earth? Sarah asked. Use us as hostages? They won't have time. Our opening move takes out their command and control. Vexthara's flagship first, then the carrier groups. We disable, not destroy. I want prisoners, not martyrs. Sarah looked at the tactical display. 13 Black Fleet ships against 340 collective vessels. The numbers still seemed impossible. You're sure about this? Hall's smile was sharp. Commander, humanity spent 90 years preparing for this exact scenario. We're sure. The morning of the ceremony arrived with clear skies over Geneva. President Williams and her cabinet prepared to board the shuttle that would take them to the Dominion's will. Sarah went with them, along with General Morrison and a small security detail. They all knew they might die in the next few hours. The collective flagship was magnificent in a brutal way. It looked like a massive blade, 20 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor. Smaller ships surrounded it in formation. The entire collective fleet had gathered for the ceremony. 340 vessels arranged in perfect ranks. They wanted the show of force. They wanted humanity to see its new masters in all their terrible glory. As the shuttle approached, Sarah activated her personal comm. Hall, we're almost there. We see you. Stay calm, stay focused. In exactly 30 minutes, the galaxy changes. The shuttle docked. Collective guards met them at the airlock, tall beings in armor that looked like it could shrug off bullets. They escorted the human delegation through corridors of dark metal and pulsing lights. Other species lined the halls, some humanoid, some definitely not. All of them watched the humans with expressions that ranged from pity to contempt. They entered a massive chamber. It was clearly designed to intimidate, with a ceiling that rose 50 meters and walls covered in weapons and battle honors. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the tiered seating. At the center of it all was Ambassador Vexthara, standing beside a crystalline podium that held the surrender documents. Humans of Earth, Vexthara announced, you have shown wisdom in accepting the inevitable. The collective welcomes you. Sign the documents and join the community of civilized species. President Williams approached the podium. Sarah and Morrison flanked her. The president picked up the signing instrument, a device that would encode her biometric signature into the crystal. She looked at Sarah. Sarah checked her chronometer. 28 minutes since Hall's message. They needed to stall. Before I sign, Williams said, I have questions about the resource allocation. 60% seems... The terms are not negotiable, Vexthara interrupted. Sign now or we will proceed with pacification. 29 minutes, Williams picked up the instrument again. Her hand moved toward the document. 30 minutes. Sarah's comm crackled. Just one word from Hall. Now. Every light in the chamber flickered. Alert sirens started wailing throughout the ship. Collective officers rushed to consoles, their expressions shifting from triumph to confusion to fear in the space of seconds. One of them looked up at Vexthara, and Sarah saw genuine terror in the being's eyes. Ambassador, the officer said, we have contacts. Multiple contacts. They just appeared around us. What? Vexthara demanded. What appeared? The officer's voice cracked. Ships, 13 massive ships. They're surrounding the entire fleet. Sensors say they weren't there 10 seconds ago, but now they're everywhere. And they're targeting us, all of us. The display screens around the chamber flickered and changed. The view shifted to external cameras, showing space around the Dominion's will. Sarah had seen the Black Fleet ships before, had watched them move against the stars. But seeing them decloak all at once, appearing like vengeful ghosts around the collective fleet, was something else entirely. They were beautiful and terrible, angular and aggressive, dark as the void between stars. The Revenant hung directly ahead of the Dominion's will, so close their shields would overlap if they powered them up. Weapons ports opened along its hull like eyes opening in the dark. And then Admiral Hall's voice broadcast on every channel. In every language, heard by every being in the collective fleet and every representative in that chamber. Galactic Collective, he said, calm and cold as death. This is Fleet Admiral Marcus Hall of the Human Black Fleet. Your demonstration at Mars was noted. Consider this our reply. You have exactly 1 minute to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force. Your time starts now. In the chamber, 300 representatives from 300 species sat in shocked silence, and Sarah smiled. Ambassador Vexithera stared at the screen showing the Black Fleet ships. For the first time since arriving at Earth, the ambassador's composure cracked. Those 4 eyes went wide, and when Vexithera spoke, the translator caught the tremor in the voice. This is impossible. You don't have ships. You're barely capable of FTL travel. President Williams stepped back from the podium, the unsigned surrender document forgotten. We've been capable of a lot more than we showed you, Ambassador. We just didn't advertise it. Morrison's comm unit lit up with tactical data streaming from the Black Fleet. Sarah glanced at it and felt her breath catch. The collective fleet was in complete disarray. Ships were trying to turn to target the suddenly appeared threats, but they were boxed in. Every collective vessel had at least one Black Fleet ship within weapons range. 30 seconds, Hall's voice broadcast again. I suggest you use them wisely. Vexithera touched a control on one armored wrist. Fleet Command, this is the Ambassador. Destroy those ships immediately. Full weapons free. Don't, Sarah said quietly. But the collective commander wasn't listening. On the tactical display, Sarah watched 75 collective warships light up their weapon systems. Purple energy built along their hulls, the same energy that had destroyed Mars' colony. The Black Fleet moved first. It wasn't even close. The Revenant fired a single weapon. Sarah didn't see a beam or projectile. She just saw space itself seem to ripple around the nearest collective carrier. Then the carrier's lights went out. All of them. Weapons powered down. Engines stopped. Even the running lights died. Null field deployed, Hall's voice said calmly. That ship is now dead in space. Crew is alive but unable to fight. Anyone else want to try? Another collective ship fired. A massive purple beam lanced toward one of the Black Fleet vessels, the one Hall had called the Phantom. The beam should have torn through the ship's hull. Instead, it passed through without effect, like shining a flashlight through smoke. Dark matter weaving engaged, Hall said. Your energy weapons can't hurt us. Let me show you what ours can do. The Phantom returned fire. A beam of white light, thin as a needle, touched the collective ship's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship's armor simply came apart, molecular bonds severing, plates drifting away in pieces. The beam cut a line across the hull like drawing with a razor, precise and surgical. The beam stopped before hitting anything critical. The collective ship tumbled away, crippled but intact. We can kill you, Hall said, but we'd rather not. Power down your weapons. Now. In the ceremony chamber, representatives from hundreds of species watched in stunned silence. Sarah saw calculations happening behind alien eyes. They were witnessing the impossible. Humanity, the newest and supposedly weakest species, had just demonstrated military superiority over the collective's police fleet. Vexithera made a choking sound. Fleet Command status report. The response came from a different voice this time, younger and terrified. Ambassador, we've lost contact with the command carrier. All bridge crew is unconscious from some kind of neural disruptor. 70% of our fleet is reporting weapons and propulsion failure. Whatever technology these humans have, our shields don't stop it. How many ships have we lost? None destroyed, but 43 dead in space, 96 with critical systems damaged. The officer paused. They're not trying to kill us. They're just showing us they could. Sarah watched Vexithera process this. The ambassador was a skilled diplomat, had probably overseen dozens of integrations, but this was new territory. This was a primitive species that wasn't primitive at all, that had been hiding weapons the collective didn't know were possible. How long have you had these ships? Vexithera asked quietly. 90 years, President Williams replied. We built them after our first contact with aliens. It didn't go well. We decided we'd never be helpless again. First contact? But your records say, we lied. We covered it up. We made sure the galaxy thought we were naive and unprepared. Williams smiled, and it had teeth. Surprise. On the tactical display, more collective ships were powering down. The fight had lasted less than 5 minutes, and the collective fleet was broken. Not destroyed, not slaughtered, but completely and utterly defeated. Hall's voice came through again. Ambassador Vexithera, you have a choice now. We can continue this demonstration until every ship in your fleet is disabled. Or you can surrender and we can talk like civilized beings. You have 10 seconds to decide. Vexithera looked around the chamber, at the representatives watching, at the screens showing the Black Fleet. at President Williams and the humans who should have been signing surrender documents but were instead standing tall and unafraid. "I surrender," the ambassador said. "Fleet Command, cease all hostile actions. Power down weapons systems." "Wise choice," Hall replied. "Human boarding teams are en route. Please cooperate with them. President Williams, if you're still aboard the Dominion's Will, you might want to step back. We're coming through the main airlock in 60 seconds. Sarah, Morrison, and the President moved to the side of the chamber. The collective guards who'd escorted them earlier looked confused, unsure if they should stop the humans or protect them, or just get out of the way. They chose the last option. The chamber doors exploded inward, not literally, but it felt that way. A squad of armored humans stormed through, moving with precision that came from decades of training. Their armor was different from anything Sarah had seen, smooth and black, covered in sensors and weapons. They moved like they owned the ship. Behind them came Admiral Marcus Hall. He was taller than Sarah remembered, or maybe it was just the way he carried himself. He wore a simple uniform, black with silver insignia, and moved with the confidence of someone who'd just won an impossible victory. Hall walked straight to Ambassador Vexithara. "Ambassador, I'm placing you and your command staff under military detention. You will not be harmed. Consider yourselves prisoners of war, though I prefer to think of this as protective custody while we sort out our political situation." Vexithara made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. "The collective will not accept this. We have fought wars against species more powerful than you. You have won a battle, but have you?" Hall interrupted. "Fought wars, I mean. Real wars against enemies who could actually hurt you?" The ambassador hesitated. "We have pacified resistant species. That's not the same thing. When was the last time the collective fought a peer opponent? Someone with the technology and will to make you bleed?" Hall leaned in slightly. "When was the last time you faced an enemy that scared you?" Silence. "That's what I thought," Hall said. "You've gotten soft, Ambassador. 1,000 years of easy victories. You forgot that some species don't break easily. And humans?" He smiled. "We're very, very hard to break." Hall turned to address the entire chamber. "Representatives of the Galactic Collective, what you witnessed today is a demonstration of what happens when you threaten humanity. We didn't start this conflict. We would have been happy to join your community as equals, but you demanded our subjugation." He gestured at the screen still showing the disabled collective fleet. "In 37 minutes, we neutralized your entire police force. We could have destroyed every ship, killed everyone aboard, but we didn't because we're not monsters. We're humans, and we believe in proportional response." One of the representatives, a being that looked like a walking crystal, stood up. "What do you want?" "Revenge?" "Justice," Williams said, stepping forward. "And changes. Ambassador Vexithara told us your integration terms were standard. That every species pays 60% tribute. That every species surrenders sovereignty. We've been doing some research on the collective, and we've learned some interesting things." Morrison pulled out a data pad. "The 60% tribute doesn't go to the collective as a whole. It goes to the founding species, the original members who built the collective 1,000 years ago. Everyone else pays while you profit." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked shocked. Others looked uncomfortable, like this was a secret they'd hoped to keep. "The collective isn't a community," Williams continued. "It's an empire with better marketing. And Earth refuses to join an empire as a subject species." "Then what?" Vexithara asked. "You'll fight the entire collective?" "We have thousands of ships, billions of soldiers." Hall pulled up a holographic display. 6 more Black Fleet vessels appeared, hovering over 6 different systems. "While we were disabling your police fleet," Hall said, 6 of our other ships visited the home systems of the collective's founding species. They're there now in orbit over your capital worlds, invisible and waiting for my orders. We have enough firepower in each system to crack a planet. We won't do it, but we could." He let that sink in. "Here's what's going to happen," Hall continued. "We're going to have negotiations, real ones. Earth will join the galactic community, but as an equal, not a subject. The tribute system ends. The resource extraction ends. Species that want to leave the collective will be allowed to do so, with Earth's protection if they need it." "And if we refuse?" Vexithara asked. "Then we stay like this," Hall replied. "Us watching you. You knowing we're out there, invisible, waiting. Building more ships. Getting stronger. Until eventually you decide negotiation is better than an arms race you can't win. The negotiations lasted 6 days. Sarah spent most of that time in a converted conference room aboard the Revenant, watching diplomats argue over details that would reshape the galaxy. Representatives from the collective's founding species sat on one side of the table, President Williams and Admiral Hall on the other. Mediators from neutral species sat between them, trying to keep things civil. It wasn't always civil. You're demanding the dismantling of 1,000 years of tradition, one of the founding species representatives said. Her name was Kelthara, and she represented the Viridian Ascendancy, one of the original 5 species that had created the collective. The tribute system has maintained peace and prosperity across the galaxy. For you, Morrison replied from where he stood against the wall. For the 5 founding species, everyone else has been paying you for the privilege of being protected from threats you made up. Kelthara's scales flushed an angry orange. We made nothing up. The collective has defended smaller species from pirates, from raiders, from hostile powers. Name one in the last 500 years. Hall said quietly. Kelthara opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't. The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the room. The Galactic Collective had started as a genuine defensive alliance, but over centuries it had become something else. A protection racket. Pay tribute and accept occupation, or face the Collective's fleet. No one had challenged it because no one could. The Collective's military power was overwhelming. Any species that developed dangerous technology was quickly integrated before they became a threat. Humanity had slipped through the cracks by preparing in secret for 90 years. We're not asking you to dismantle everything, Williams said, trying to steer the conversation back. Keep the collective. Keep the mutual defense agreements. Just end the exploitation. Let species keep what they produce. Let them govern themselves. Create a real alliance instead of an empire. And if species use their freedom to attack each other? Another representative asked. Then the collective intervenes, Hall said. But as peacekeepers, not overlords. You maintain military forces to prevent war, not to extract tribute. Who pays for that military then? Everyone contributes equally based on ability. It's like a real alliance would. The arguing continued, but Sarah could see the shift happening. The founding species knew they'd lost. Earth had destroyed their monopoly on power. Other species were watching the negotiations. 47 had already sent private messages expressing interest in joining whatever new system Earth was proposing. The threat of mass defection hung over every word. On the 4th day, the first breakthrough came. The Viridian Ascendancy agreed to reduce tribute demands to 20%, split equally among all collective members for mutual defense. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. On the 5th day, 3 minor founding species agreed to full equality among all member worlds. They read the room and knew the old system was dying. Better to adapt than be left behind. By the 6th day, only 2 founding species were still holding out, and their own representatives were arguing with each other. The old guard wanted to refuse everything, to call humanity's bluff and dare them to start a war. The younger diplomats wanted accommodation, compromise, survival. Sarah watched Ambassador Vexithara through all of it. The ambassador had been released from detention on the 2nd day, but remained on the Revenant as the primary collective negotiator. Vexithara was smart, skilled, and adaptable. The ambassador understood which way the wind was blowing. On the morning of the 7th day, Vexithara came to find Sarah in one of the observation decks. She was watching Earth through the massive windows, the blue and white planet turning peacefully below. Commander Chen, the ambassador said. May I speak with you? Sarah nodded. Of course. Vexithara stood beside her, looking at Earth. It's beautiful. I can see why you fought for it. We fight for every world, Sarah replied. Earth, Mars, Luna, any place humans live. Yes, I'm beginning to understand that about your species. Vexithara paused. The Collective Council has agreed to the new terms. The tribute system will be phased out over 5 years. Member species will retain sovereignty. Earth will join as an equal member with full voting rights. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. That's good news. There are conditions, of course. Earth must share some of its military technology. The dark matter weaving specifically. The Council wants to ensure other species can defend themselves. That's reasonable. and Earth must commit to the mutual defense agreements. If a collective member is attacked, humanity responds. We can agree to that. Vexthera turned to face her directly. I need to ask you something, Commander. How much of this did you plan? The hidden fleet, the timing, the demonstrations of power, was it all calculated to force this exact outcome? Sarah thought about the question. About the scared people who'd built the Black Fleet 90 years ago. About Hall's great-grandfather going into cryosleep not knowing if he'd ever wake up. About 12,000 people dying on Mars because humanity looked weak. We didn't plan for this specific situation, she said finally. We planned to survive whatever came. The collective could have approached us peacefully, could have offered real alliance instead of subjugation. You chose to threaten us. We chose to show you that was a bad idea. By humiliating us in front of the entire galaxy. By defending ourselves proportionally. We disabled your ships. We didn't destroy them. We could have killed everyone in your fleet in those first 5 minutes. We chose not to. That should tell you something about who we are. Vexthera was quiet for a long moment. It tells me you're more dangerous than I thought. A species that can destroy you but chooses not to is more frightening than one that simply attacks. It means you're in control. It means you thought everything through. Maybe we're just tired of killing, Sarah said. Humans spent most of our history at war with each other. We know what war costs. We'd rather have peace. But you're prepared for war. Always. Sarah met the ambassador's four-eyed gaze. That's the lesson, Ambassador. We hope for peace and prepare for war. We extend trust but verify. We're friendly until you prove we shouldn't be. And if you threaten us, we don't fold. We fight back. The galaxy won't know what to do with you, Sarah smiled. Then the galaxy should probably figure it out quickly. The formal signing happened 3 days later. Not on the Dominion's will this time. On Earth in Geneva, where humanity's leaders had once debated surrender. Now they were signing a treaty of equals. Representatives from all 847 species attended. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, reaching billions of beings on thousands of worlds. They watched as President Williams signed the new compact, establishing Earth as a full member of the Galactic Collective. With equal rights and responsibilities, they watched as 47 other species immediately signed amendments, declaring independence from the old tribute system and requesting Earth's military partnership. They watched as Admiral Hall stood behind Williams, silent and imposing, a reminder of the Black Fleet still out there, still watching. When it was over, Sarah found herself on a balcony overlooking Geneva. The city was celebrating, fireworks lighting up the night sky. Humanity had faced extinction, and won not through surrender but through strength. Morrison joined her. Hell of a week. Hell of 90 years, Sarah replied. All those people who built the Black Fleet, who went into cryo, who lived in secret, they'll be remembered as heroes now. They should be. They saved us, Morrison paused. What do you think happens now? Sarah thought about that. Now we actually have to be part of the galactic community. Trade, diplomacy, cultural exchange, all the normal things, while maintaining the most powerful military fleet in known space. That too, Sarah smiled. Hall told me something yesterday. They've been building more ships. The 13 we revealed aren't the only ones. There are 9 more in deep construction and facilities to build 50 more if needed. Morrison's eyebrows rose. 50 more? Jesus, we could conquer the galaxy. We could, but we won't. That's not who we are. Sarah looked up at the stars where the Black Fleet waited in patient silence. We're the species that protects our own. We're the ones who prepare for the worst and hope for the best. We're the ones who don't start fights but sure as hell finish them. Humanity's reputation is going to spread, Morrison said. Every species will hear the story. The primitives who built secret warships and brought the collective to its knees. Good, let them hear it. Let them know what happened when the galaxy demanded Earth's capitulation. Sarah's smile turned sharp. Let them know the Black Fleet awoke, and the galaxy learned a lesson it should have already known. What lesson? That humans don't kneel. We stand up, we fight back, and we remember. She turned to face Morrison. The collective thought we were weak because we were new. They thought technology and numbers guaranteed victory. They forgot the most important factor in any war. What's that? Will. The determination to do whatever it takes to protect what's ours. That's what makes us dangerous. Not our ships, not our weapons. Our refusal to quit even when quitting makes sense. Morrison nodded slowly. We're the galaxy's nightmare now. The species that looks harmless until you threaten it. Then it shows teeth you didn't know existed.